I cannot believe we just had the longest government shutdown, and it was for basically nothing.
That the next time Democrats have a trifecta, they have the House, the Senate, and the White House, they're probably going to try to pull the filibuster themselves to get a couple of new states in, to get more electoral votes, et cetera. His threat to end the filibuster, I think, scared the heck out of a lot of Democrats. But also his focus on Obamacare and the incredible unaffordability of the Affordable Care Act is becoming very clear. That was the main sticking points of Democrats. They wanted
the incredible unaffordability of the Affordable Care Act is becoming a sticking point for the Democrats is crazy because they have no alternative. Like they literally do not have an alternative. They're not actually suggesting that like they end up pushing for comprehensive healthcare reform or socialized medicine or anything. They just don't have a plan. They just want to talk. It's insane.
At least $1 trillion, if not more, primarily to bail out a system that we were told was going to lower prices. Instead, prices have increased 96%.
They wanted that money without reforming it.
So what would have happened if Obamacare wasn't jacked up and oversubsidized during the pandemic? Would rates have skyrocketed later this year? Yes, they would have, absolutely. So that just goes to show you the program was overwrought, and that the rate hike and the pain that people are going to feel who thought that they could rely on this new government subsidy, they are now completely left in the cold by something. This was a can that was kicked. You know, Obama didn't care because he knew he wasn't going to be in office any longer. So when the pain really hit, it's like having an adjustable rate mortgage. And then all of a sudden it goes fixed rate when rates are high and you can no longer afford it. And that's the pain that people are feeling right now. But what the Democrats are proposing is just more government. So every time we have more government in one of these horrific hybrid programs, somehow it gets more and more costly. And the only fix when you have too much government for them is more government. Hakeem Jeffries is running around saying, you know, we have an affordability crisis. People can't afford everything. Well, maybe their taxes are too damn high because they're paying for broken programs.
Like the rent in New York, remember him?
Exactly right.
All right. A column in the New York.
Yeah, no, it's the taxes that are too damn high. We need to cut the corporate tax rate further. Unprecedented amounts of income and wealth inequality in this country. And these guys are still talking about taxes. Where do we go? Like, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want to get to? Where just like the working poor just literally can't afford anything? Is that what we want to do? They want to just melt the poor into biomatter. They want to make AI. They want to get AGI done so they can just start melting the poor.
Times is arguing that before the Senate Dems decided to cave last night, quote, Dems were on a roll, so why stop now? The piece explains, though, Democrats were winning this one. Polls showed that most voters blamed Republicans, not Democrats, for the current.
I just cannot believe it. Like, I can't. Like, you only. I don't know why I shouldn't say I can't believe it, because, like, this is what I've argued about the Democrats for years at this point. But it just still feels unbelievable that they literally said, oh, no, things are going too good. Let's f it up, dude. I mean, it's something that I called ahead of time, and I still can't believe that they leaned into it. It is bizarre. It doesn't make any sense unless you're just like, no, we want to suck. We want to be dog. We want you to spit on us when you see us walking down, okay? Walking down the street, we want you to be like, fuck you. It wasn't good for a lot of normal people. Brother, understand something. Nobody wants the government to be shut down. I think it's awesome that air traffic control is reduced to like 0 people in certain towers in the country? Do you think it's awesome that people are working without pay? Like hundreds of thousands of people are working without pay? No. But there's 2 sides to every negotiation. And in terms of like the political gamesmanship, people understandably were frustrated with the Republicans, because the reason why the shutdown took place is because the Republicans did not want to extend the ACA subsidies, making it impossible to afford healthcare for 24 million Americans. What do you mean it wasn't good for a lot of normal people? I don't mean that it was awesome. I don't mean that it was sweet. But a lot of people correctly were placing the blame on the Republicans. And not only that, but the Republicans leaned into it. They leaned into the mania. They leaned into the evilness. They were like, oh yeah, 24, you want healthcare to be relatively affordable, even though it's like incredibly expensive for 24 million Americans? Well, guess what? We're also going to starve 42 million Americans. It is insane.
On Obamacare, you raised several times during this shutdown debate that it's clear.
Someone should tell Trump that if he actually wants to erode Obama's legacy, he should do socialized health care. Someone should be like, Mr. Trump, Mr. President, do you really want to make Obama look bad? Do socialized health, do the public option, shred it, shred the private healthcare industry, cut it across piece by piece, rebuild a solid socialized medicine infrastructure in this country, socialized healthcare infrastructure in this country. It's true. Call it Trump care, baby. I will ride for that.
This was never going to work without these massive subsidies. Now they wanted to continue the...
Yeah, private healthcare is woke and gay. We want anti-woke socialized medicine. That's what we want. We want anti-woke Medicare for all. MAGA care, Trump care, whatever. Oh my God. You go to the doctor and the doctor's like, you go to the doctor and if you ask the doctor to call you by your pronouns, you actually get billed, but it's free if you don't. No pronouns. None. No he, him, no she, her, nothing. Like you have to, it's a totally new way to communicate. It's impossible to communicate with one another, but at least you get free healthcare. Med beds.
COVID subsidies. So given the fact that Obamacare really can't survive as they thought without these subsidies, what next?
Well, I watched Obama from when this thing came about. As you know, I opposed it very strongly. Unfortunately, we had a couple of negative votes, which should never have happened. But I said it's going to be a disaster, and I was exactly right. The premiums have gone up like rocket ships, and I'm not just talking about recently. I'm talking about for years they've been going up. And he said premiums will go down, everything will be wonderful. It's horrible health insurance at a very high price.
Guys, who would have thought? They're not going to do that because then they'll be providing for black and brown Americans. Trust me, they'll have universal health and education once we all die off, and that's not happening. I mean, it's not the main reason. That's the marketing. The main reason is because it's capitalism, right? Healthcare, private healthcare is a ginormous industry that doesn't need to exist, that actually feeds a lot of mouths, right? A lot of corporate executives, lobbyists, people making hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars a year, by basically denying people the adequate healthcare coverage that they actually paid into. And year over year, the cost goes up. That means people are making more money. The way to sell it to the broader population is by saying, well, you know, black people and brown people take advantage of this too. And they do that. They do that every day. That's why they lie and say, oh, immigrants are taking advantage of our free healthcare, like we have any free healthcare in this country. And that's what it is. It's an effective message only in part because there's no one that's actually a lone voice or a unified front. No one that's actually putting up a unified front, rather, sorry, not a lone voice, advancing this like free healthcare alternative. Yeah, Trump says he's about to unveil a fantastic new healthcare plan for everyone with lower cost, better coverage, etc. He first said this just before he was inaugurated in 2017, almost 9 years ago. Yeah. Any day now. It's called med beds.
And what I want, and probably what you're alluding to, is the fact that I want, instead of going to the insurance companies, I want the money to go into an account for people where the people buy their own health insurance. It's so good. The insurance will be better. It'll cost less. Everybody's going to be happy. They're going to feel like entrepreneurs. They're actually able to go out and negotiate their own health insurance. And they can use it only for that reason. That's the beauty, only for that purpose. And if we did that, that would be so exciting. Call it Trump care, call it whatever you want to call it, but anything but Obamacare. Obamacare is a disaster, just like he was as a president.
Call it Trump care, baby. I don't care. Do it. Can do it. You won't, pussy.
After all that, a Democratic Party civil war is erupting tonight, just hours after a breakthrough on the government shutdown. 8 Senate Democrats broke ranks and they crossed the aisle to support a bipartisan spending plan. In return, their promise a future vote on Obamacare subsidies. The bill still has to clear the House before it reaches President Trump's desk. And here's what the president had to say.
We'll be opening up our country very quickly.
Mr. President, that deal does reverse the mass firings your administration put through during the shutdown. Did you sign off on that, and will you abide by that if this passes?
Well, I will be. I'll abide by the deal. The deal is very good.
Even though Schumer voted no, the knives are out. Progressives are turning him into the scapegoat for a deal that doesn't lock in any guarantee on Obamacare subsidies. Lawmakers like Seth Moulton and Ro Khanna are calling for Schumer to be replaced. Others airing out their grievances with the bipartisan deal.
Oh, I think this whole thing stinks. And I think most members of the House caucus on the Democratic side are absolutely outraged.
We'll continue that fight today, tomorrow, this week, next week, this month, next month, this year, next year.
What this Senate is about to do is make a horrific situation even worse.
There's no way to defend this. And you are right to be angry about it. I'm angry about it.
And some folks in the liberal...
I heart eating. Oh, you mean the Democratic Party's resounding message that they're going to carry over to the midterms coming up? I heart eating, and you should too. You have no options. You must vote for the love eating party. Please keep eating this because otherwise the opposition is eating more. Do you want to eat by the spoonful or by the shovelful is the option here. Awesome. And the craziest part about it is that, you know, better things are possible. We have seen it. And that's what the Democrats, I think, like the establishment in both parties, fear the most. They fear that you will hope for a better future. They fear that, you know, if you find the courage within yourself, if you find if you recognize that we do have the capability to fix things, to make things better for the working class, for example, all of a sudden you're going to start demanding it more and more. You're going to start voting in candidates that will actually do that. And then that actually compromises the position. There is nothing as dangerous as the threat of a better alternative. The threat of a better alternative was presented by Bernie Sanders in 2016, and they hated him for it. And that momentum continued to grow, albeit not as fast as you would want it, not as exponential as you would have hoped. But that momentum has carried over year. And after a sequence of horrible defeats, even the liberal voter base of the Democratic Party, the self-identifying liberals, are also recognizing that things are horrible and that the centrist Democrats are constantly selling them out.
You want to see Schumer go.
The president is kind of getting what he wanted. It doesn't feel like a gentleman's agreement. It feels like Lucy and the football.
Now you're going to open the government up, and what did you get in return?
Right.
Nothing?
Right.
Nothing? This is the end of Chuck Schumer as we go forward.
I think Chuck Schumer, his days are over. If he cannot keep his caucus together, he needs to go. He needs to be replaced.
All right, we've got to have a great discussion. Kellyanne, on the day that this began, I said, we know how this is going to end. It will end with the Democrats having a cave because they don't have the votes. And in the end, it does. But Schumer walked himself into this situation. And now, do you think he'll have to go?
Probably, at least as the minority leader. He's been in politics, Dana, for 50 years, and it's starting to show. So you were correct on day one. You knew how it was going to end. The question was always, when would it end? And it ended almost 40 days later with the exact deal that the Republicans offered 35 days before and were rejected by the Democrats. There's no way to spin it. They caved, they capitulated, they should claim strategic bankruptcy. This is a party bereft of leadership, of vision, of ideas. And Chuck Schumer's had a terrible week. This was just the capper. His week started out with him not even acknowledging whether he voted for Mandami for.
Nothing I hate more than the Republicans being correct. I can't begin to explain to you how much I despise being in an environment where some of these media demons on the right happen to make the correct assessment. It is so f***ed up, dude. These guys are assholes. The fact that we are giving these assholes not only a W, but also allowing them any kind of room to make correct statements about the state of affairs within the Democratic Party. Very frustrating. It's like, on the one hand, you got the Kellyanne Conways of the world making the correct assessment about Chuck Schumer's ineptitude. On the other hand, you got the Gavin Newsoms of the world taking advantage of the momentum and saying that the Democrats are pathetic. I hate that both, okay? I am terrified of a Gavin Newsom presidency. I think it is exactly the establishment Democrat dream. I know what it looks like to live under the banner of gruesome Governor Gavin Newsom. His worst issue is the most consequential one. It's housing. And yet, more and more liberals are getting on the Gavin train because he keeps saying the right things. He keeps tapping into the frustrations that people have. It's very, very frustrating.
And wouldn't even endorse him. And then, of course, he's made nobody happy. The so-called moderates, the 8 aren't happy. The progressives aren't happy. And I think if you're Schumer, you also have to realize that this did nothing for the party's identity crisis, of which he is in the center. Because if the entire strategy is get Trump, he just got you. He played you completely. Dana, what I don't understand.
Oh, they're closing hundreds of commissaries and trying to privatize them? I know. Speaking of which, the Trump administration is trying to create a mutiny situation. At a time of like unprecedented affordability crisis, the Donald Trump administration is actively trying to make the lives of armed service members harder, which is really funny because like on the one end, they just keep pissing off the generals, okay, by being like, you're all fat and you're all woke and you need to listen to Pete Hegseth, who's hot and sexy and young and knows what he's talking about. On the other hand, they're like, also, oh, are you guys having a hard time? Well, don't worry. We're going to make it worse by skyrocketing the price of groceries, by privatizing them. Like, where does this go? I do not know, but it does seem kind of funny. It's like, it's almost like a playbook of like, what are the worst things you could possibly do? Because without the military, you're right. Like when all else fails, right? When it's utter bedlam, when it's utter chaos, there's a reason why these guys are all moving to military bases, right? They're moving to military bases because they're like, well, if the public actually inevitably rises up against us in like some sort of, militant, violent revolution or something like that, at least we'll be protected by the military. Okay, but you're also pissing off the military. It's just so interesting that they're not covering their bases at all. It almost feels like.
And the Democrats wanted to die on this hill. It's always the hill for illegal immigrants. First, you lied that the border was secure, and you let in millions and millions and millions of them. They got all kinds of benefits the rest of us can't get. Then you stood there and said, we're going to stop lawful deportations.
Who's moving to a military base? Stephen Miller did. I think J.D. Vance did, right? Marco Rubio, Kirsty Noem, Pam Bondi. It's a suspicious number of high-level administration officials that have moved to military bases. It actually is weird. It's weird as bro.
Unlawful people. And now you said we're going to shut down the government to make sure that they get Obamacare subsidies and premiums. And they got absolutely nothing out of it except a headache. If you're Chuck Schumer, you've got to realize this party elected people last week in blue states who never invited Chuck Schumer or Kamala Harris or Hillary Clinton or Bill Clinton to campaign with them. It's a party at odds with themselves. They picked the wrong fight. And I think after 14 CRs going for Joe Biden, they can't turn around and do the same thing for the president. If you're upset, everybody, if you're upset because your flight was canceled, because somebody didn't get a check, you don't know if you're going
to... Dog, clean CRs 14 times for Joe Biden. It's not like there was a genuine agenda item that they opposed. Like, what are you supposed to? And they opposed it anyway. But half the time, the Republicans didn't even need to oppose because the Democrats were too busy fighting amongst themselves. The very same rotating villain structure that exists right now that is pissing off a lot of liberals existed back then too. And that made it so that like the Biden agenda was already undermined and crippled before it even got to the Republican side, before it even achieved any sort of Republican resistance. And the Republicans could stay unified and say, yeah, we don't want better things. We don't want any infrastructure spending. We don't want any spending whatsoever because the Democrats were too busy f***ing it up.
You only have one party to blame, and it's the Democrats.
I want to get to a bigger picture about the American people with Joey, but let me go to you first, Jessica, about this, because what are you hearing? Is there a serious drumbeat about Schumer leaving, or is that just people airing out their frustration for a day?
It's going to be way more than a day. So you remember what it was like after he voted to keep the government open back in March, and people thought, okay, well, let's kind of see how this goes. And it did feel actually surrounding this issue in particular that the caucus was feeling decent about his leadership. Yes, he was not the #1 surrogate out there on the campaign trail, but Democrats were coming off of a very good electoral week. So the big tent was in, full regalia. I was at a liberal conference on Friday, and people were pretty high on the idea that we were winning races. Yes, in some blue states, but also in Mississippi.
I hypothesize about what a strong Dem party should have done here. I mean, I did every day. I did. There's no hypothesis. They accidentally lucked into it anyway without doing much because the people were already on board. They correctly blamed the Republicans for the shutdown. And then Democrats took ownership over it for no reason. Trump is literally as unpopular as Biden was at his worst. And the Democrats said, let's cave. Like, a lot of people will look at this and go, oh, look at these guys. They don't give a shit. Look at these libtards. They obviously don't care about people starving. It's like, dude, the Republicans don't care about people starving. That's the reason why it's this low right now. Like, what are we talking about? What are we talking about, dude? The Republicans did like Gilded Age parties, Great Gatsby parties on the one side, while simultaneously telling the Supreme Court, we must starve the working poor. 42 million Americans. We will take away the additional SNAP contingency that exists for moments exactly like this one. Like, they went to the Supreme Court and they forced the Supreme Court to put a pause on it, dude. What are we talking about? People were very pissed off. It's just so weird how every single time Republicans are about to totally self-destruct, Democrats rush in and do something that bails them out. Probably nothing. I mean, yeah, it's impossible not to recognize it. You know, it's just, what are we doing? How many times? How many times does it have to happen? Like, if the Democrats are not the controlled opposition party, they're doing a really shitty job, you know? If they're trying not to be the controlled opposition party, they are doing a horrible job. If they are trying to be the controlled opposition party, then they're doing a spectacular job. This is how the controlled opposition party would work, you know? Like, we like to think one party rulership structure exists in other countries, but the Democrats basically operate as like the junior coalition partner that just goes, we can't do anything.
And that, frankly, we were united around the fact that Democrats are the party that cares about people's health care. And that's what this fight was about. And I think the thing that stings the most is that not only the 8 senators who voted for this, but the reporting shows that there are a few more behind the scenes, apparently, that were telling them, please do this for us. We're more vulnerable than you are. Right. And that they didn't think that we were mature enough to hear that argument out loud, for them to come to us and say, these are the reasons we think we should take this deal. And maybe we should have taken it 3 weeks ago even, but right now I am hearing from constituents that are hungry. I'm hearing from constituents that cannot get to see their families. I am hearing from furloughed employees. So let's hold Senator Thune to his word. And apparently he and Dick Durbin had a conversation before Durbin, push this forward, where Thune said, I assure you I will bring this vote in December. That doesn't guarantee Mike Johnson is going to do it, though. But I understand the celebrating. I feel defeated by this, but Republicans still don't have a health care plan. This election will be about health care.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. But this is a big L regardless. It was an unnecessary self-own regardless.
They are on the record again as not wanting to extend these ACA subsidies that mostly benefit their own voters. That is something that Democrats will be very willing and able to run on in 2026. And that'll spell electoral disaster for them. So it's not as if they're fully out of the woods here.
Joey, I was thinking about you earlier because I feel like you have your finger on the pulse of people. You fly a lot. You're back and forth a lot.
I do fly a lot.
And so the pain became so acute over this past week, and it's not going to stop for a while. You also had military people who were not getting paid. They were having to go to the food banks, for example. There's a lot of people that were dealing with this where the members of Congress.
I can't believe it, dude. The Republicans talking about people in food banks and how devastating that is one of the craziest things. It's like, dude, what the do you mean? Oh, the poor working class individuals, the tired, the hungry. Trump, your guy, literally personally cut SNAP. And while he was trying to do that, cut SNAP, you were running around being like, well, it's all angry, entitled black women that want SNAP anyway. That just happened. It didn't, that didn't happen, I mean, it did happen under the Reagan administration as well, welfare queens and stuff, but that has not stopped happening. It was happening last week. I was there. We were watching it, right? We saw it with our own 2 eyes. Yeah, while they cut SNAP, they went against SNAP discounts too. It was insane. USDA tells grocery stores no special discounts for SNAP recipients. Like true cruelty, true evil, actually. Like there is no other way to look at this. That was a week and a half ago, man. That wasn't that long ago. That was a week and a half ago. What the f are we doing? What the absolute f are we doing? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. We got some hotties in the building. Oh shit.
Yeah.
We got the Chinese contingency in the building. We are Chinese. We're all Chinese.
God, your shoulder is.
Do you know how to do the 早上好中国我喜欢冰淇淋 the thing that
Oh,
Cena says?
you just said that so no, I don't know how to
Okay,
do that.
so,
That was crazy.
早上好
早上好
中国
中国
我喜欢
我喜欢
冰淇淋
冰淇淋
No,
That's exactly it.
中国.
中国
Yeah.
中国
See,
He
you-
said fine.
No.
中国
You need to make sure.
冰淇淋 that's the John Cena.
Yeah.
Yeah, I brought a bunch of them. If you guys want some, down them.